You know that moment. We have all been there. You're staring at this, well, mountain of thawed meat or leftovers, and you're just wondering, is this destined for the trash? So today, we are tackling that exact kitchen dilemma. Can you actually refreeze food that's already been thawed? Let's find out.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll dive into the dilemma itself. Then we'll get into the science of what's really happening with bacteria. After that, we'll cover the golden rules for doing it right, talk about what refreezing does to the taste and texture, and then wrap it all up with a super simple cheat sheet you can use every single time.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the refreezing dilemma. This is a classic kitchen crossroads that, believe me, every single home cook faces sooner or later.
Okay, just picture this. Your plans for the evening completely changed, and that huge family-sized pack of chicken you thawed is now way too much for dinner tonight. So what do? Does it have to go in the bin, or can it go back in the freezer?
This really is the core of it, isn't it? I mean, on one hand, nobody wants to waste food or the money you spent on it. But on the other hand, absolutely no one wants to risk getting sick. So where is that line between being frugal and, being unsafe? That is exactly what we are here to figure out.
Moving on to section 2. Now, to solve this whole dilemma, we have to talk about the real culprit here, bacteria. It is the invisible threat that really dictates all the rules.
And check this out. This is a key insight that completely flips what most of us believe on its head. The danger isn't the act of putting food back in the freezer. Nope. The real problem happens before that. It's all about what happens during the thawing process. Which brings us to a super important concept, the temperature danger zone. Think of this as the temperature sweet spot where any bacteria on your food can just wake up and start multiplying like crazy.
Okay, burn these numbers into your brain. 40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 to 60 degrees Celsius. This is the zone you want to keep your food out of as much as humanly possible. Yeah, let's think of it like a bacterial party. Step 1, the food thaws. Step 2, if it's just left out at room temp, it enters the danger zone. That's when the party starts and all the bacteria begin to multiply. The longer it stays in that zone, well, the bigger and riskier that party gets. Okay, so now that we get the problem, let's talk about the solutions. This section is all about the golden rules for refreezing your food safely.
Listen, if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, please make it this. Whether or not you can safely refreeze something depends almost entirely on how you thawed it in the first place.
So let's break it down. The safe methods, the ones that keep food out of that danger zone, are thawing in the fridge, under cold running water, or in the microwave. And the big no-nos? Oh yeah, that's leaving it on the kitchen counter all day, or even worse, trying to thaw it in hot water.
This brings us right to golden rule number 1, which is by far the most important one.
Seriously, this is the gold standard. Thawing food in the refrigerator is slow, it's controlled, and it makes sure the food never even gets a chance to enter that dangerous temperature zone. So if you thawed it in the fridge, you can absolutely refreeze it without cooking it first. It's as simple as that. But what if you're in a hurry? We've all been there. That brings us to golden rule number 2, which covers those faster but still safe thawing methods.
Right, so if you use the cold water or microwave method, some parts of the food might have briefly entered the danger zone. So to be safe, you must cook it thoroughly to kill off any potential bacteria before it goes back into the freezer. You're basically hitting a big reset button on any bacterial growth.
All right, so we've nailed down how to refreeze food safely, but that brings up the next big question, right? What does this whole process actually do to the quality of the food? Exactly. I mean, safety is obviously priority number 1, but we also want our food to be enjoyable. So is that twice frozen steak or chicken breast going to be a delicious meal or, a culinary disappointment?
Well, the scientific reality is you should probably expect some drop in quality. Each time you freeze and then thaw something, moisture is lost. These tiny ice crystals form and they can puncture the cell walls of the food, which really affects the texture. So meats might get a bit tougher, while fruits and veggies can become a lot softer, maybe even mushy.
And that brings us to our final section, a simple, super practical cheat sheet that pulls all of this information together. This is your ultimate takeaway. Let's quickly walk through this. Raw meat or poultry thawed in the fridge? Yes, it's safe to refreeze, just remember the quality might take a little hit. Same goes for cooked leftovers. Fruits and veggies? Absolutely, but they'll be best used later on in cooked dishes like soups or baked goods. And the big one to always remember, anything, and I mean anything, thawed on the counter, that is a hard no. The risk is just way too high. So when it all comes down to it, it's really this.
Always, always make your decision based on safety first. If the food was thawed properly, then great, you have options. Then you can decide if the quality is good enough to just pop it back in the freezer, or if it would be better to cook it into a new dish right now.
And that is our wrap-up. By understanding the science behind this, you're not just guessing anymore. You actually have the power to make safe, smart decisions in your kitchen. So the real question to leave you with is, how much food and how much of your hard-earned money can you now rescue from the trash?